If you're thinking about buying a new car in 2025, you've probably already been down the digital rabbit hole, scrolling through perfectly polished manufacturer sites, swiping through videos of gleaming EVs zipping silently through futuristic cityscapes, test driving the promise of effortless technology and class-leading reliability. On paper, this is the golden age of automotive choice. There are more hybrid and electric options than ever before. A full spectrum of crossovers, SUVs, sedans, and trucks across every imaginable budget. The tech is wild. Some dashboards now look more like iPads in a race car cockpit than anything from a traditional manufacturer. You can talk to your car, stream video from the passenger seat, even summon it from a parking spot. And yet, for all this innovation, some of the most recognizable car brands are quietly falling apart behind the scenes. It's not that these brands have no strengths. Some of them were once icons, backbones of the auto industry. But today, they're appearing more and more on worst buy lists, being flagged in consumer reports, dragging down reliability ratings, and getting crushed in customer satisfaction surveys. In some cases, it's a matter of poor build quality or cost cutting that has gone too far. In others, it's overcomplication. Too much tech, too many sensors, too little durability. One feature fails and suddenly the whole vehicle spirals into endless service visits and warranty claims. The problem is, most people don't realize it until they're deep in the ownership experience, past the return window, 3 months into a lease, or stuck waiting for a back-ordered part with no loaner in sight. And that's what makes this conversation so important. One brand that's particularly hard to watch right now is Chrysler. Once respected for big, comfortable sedans and innovative minivans, the Chrysler badge in 2025 feels like a ghost of its former self. Its lineup is thinner than ever, and the vehicles that are still around, like the Pacifica and the aging 300, have seen more than their fair share of issues. Owners of the Pacifica plug-in hybrid have reported serious electrical problems, random shutdowns of the hybrid system, and one especially annoying issue where the infotainment system resets itself every time the car is turned on. On forums and Reddit threads, you'll find entire communities devoted to troubleshooting issues that dealerships can't seem to consistently fix. One owner shared that after 3 weeks of chasing a check hybrid system warning and being told the part was delayed indefinitely, they gave up and traded the vehicle in at a loss. It wasn't just the inconvenience. It was the sense that no one at the service department truly knew how the technology worked. It's a recurring theme for the brand, and it raises questions about how prepared Chrysler is to survive the EV transition with such fragile execution. Things don't get better when you look across the Stellantis umbrella. Jeep, which Chrysler owns, is suffering its own identity crisis. Vehicles like the Grand Cherokee 4xe and Jeep Compass 4xe are being sold as the future of off-road meets electric innovation, but their reliability records are quickly becoming a punchline. Multiple recalls, particularly related to the charging systems, have plagued the lineup. The fire risk in certain hybrid models led to an urgent recall of more than 200,000 vehicles across Jeep and Chrysler. And beyond safety, the usability is disappointing. One buyer described his Grand Cherokee 4xe as an amazing idea with broken execution, citing frequent EV mode failures, software glitches, and a gear selector that feels like a suggestion more than a control. What makes it worse is the price. Fully loaded, these vehicles are priced to compete with luxury crossovers. But unlike those competitors, Jeep seems to have trouble delivering on day-to-day reliability. When you're paying $70,000 plus for a plug-in SUV, you expect more than guesswork diagnostics and months-long parts delays. General Motors isn't escaping criticism either. GM was once the heart of American auto, producing reliable, iconic vehicles that families passed down through generations. But lately, that legacy is being eroded by uneven build quality and customer frustration. Take the Chevrolet Bolt EV. It was once a promising, affordable entry point into the electric market. Then came the battery recall. Then the fires. While GM has worked to address the issues with full battery replacements, the damage to consumer confidence is already done. Many owners report waiting several months to receive replacement packs, and in the meantime, being told not to charge the vehicle overnight or park it in a garage. Not exactly the ownership experience most EV buyers signed up for. One owner said she loved the car until the recall nightmare began, at which point, it became a liability sitting in my driveway. GM's luxury arm, Cadillac, is dealing with its own problems. Models like the XT5 and Escalade have been flagged for infotainment issues, trim rattling, and semi-autonomous features like Super Cruise disengaging without warning. A JD Power Dependability score released earlier this year ranked Cadillac in the bottom 5 among major brands, just above Rivian. That's a steep fall for a brand once synonymous with American luxury. Volkswagen is another name that used to mean quality, solid German engineering, understated design, and the kind of vehicles that could rack up miles without drama. But post-Dieselgate, and now deep into its attempt at reinvention, Volkswagen is struggling. The ID.4 electric SUV, launched with fanfare, has been panned for inconsistent build quality and clunky software. Owners report delayed touchscreen responses, sudden loss of charging function, and frequent over-the-air update failures. In 2025, it still feels like a beta product for many. One first-time EV buyer wrote in a consumer review that he loved the concept of the ID.4, but had to reset the infotainment system like it was a 1998 desktop computer, sometimes daily. It wasn't just frustrating, it felt like a product that was rushed to market before the bugs were worked out. Even VW's gas-powered models like the Atlas and Tiguan are dragging behind the competition in durability. Reports of transmission failures, turbo issues, and excessive oil consumption continue to haunt the lineup. And while VW's branding still carries a European prestige, the ownership experience often doesn't match the price tag. Then there's Nissan, a brand that not too long ago was associated with dependability, value, and a touch of sportiness. The legendary Z cars, the old-school Maxima, and the endlessly reliable Sentras from the early 2000s made Nissan a smart, even exciting choice. But in 2025, that legacy feels more like a memory than a reality. Today, Nissan is stuck in a strange limbo between aging design language and unreliable innovation, and it's starting to show, especially in some of its most popular models. The Altima, once a mid-size go-to for buyers seeking comfort and efficiency, has become a cautionary tale thanks to its problematic CVT, continuously variable transmission. Nissan has been using CVTs for years, but instead of refining the system, they've seemingly doubled down on a technology that continues to frustrate owners. According to a 2025 CarEdge reliability report, both the Altima and Rogue rank well below average in terms of drivetrain durability, with a disproportionately high number of transmission-related complaints. Owners have reported sluggish acceleration, strange whining sounds, and rough, jerky transitions between speeds, issues that only get worse with mileage. In many cases, the CVT gives out before 100,000 miles. One Altima owner said their transmission began slipping at just 58,000 miles. The repair quote? Just under $5,000. With the car out of warranty, there wasn't much they could do. When a major system like that fails so early, it's not just a mechanical issue, it's a trust issue. And Nissan's got a growing one on its hands. Even luxury brands aren't immune. Mercedes-Benz, for all its history and status, is getting more complicated, and for some, more disappointing. The modern S-Class or E-Class is a marvel of tech, no doubt. The interior feels like the future. But with over 100 microprocessors in some trims, complexity has become the enemy of reliability. Repairs are expensive, diagnostics can take days, and once the vehicle is out of warranty, maintenance costs skyrocket. It's not uncommon for a used Mercedes to drop from a $120,000 new price to $15,000 on the used market within 10 years. And that's not just depreciation. It's because the cost to keep it running becomes greater than the car's resale value. One former E-Class owner called his vehicle a dream to drive and a nightmare to maintain, citing thousands spent on failing air suspension and electrical gremlins that no one could permanently fix. Mercedes may still build solid engines and stunning interiors, but when the tech starts aging and the plastics begin to crack, the ownership experience can turn cold fast. What's especially frustrating is that many of these vehicles are being marketed as premium or future-proof. You're paying extra for the brand name, the innovation, or the luxury touches, only to find yourself wrestling with software patches, dealer backlogs, or waiting weeks for a basic part to arrive. And in the era of EVs and hybrids, that's a risky space, because the more these systems are interconnected, the more a single failure can sideline the whole experience. Of course, not every brand is on the decline. There are some, and we'll get into this in more detail in the follow-up, that are quietly exceeding expectations. These aren't the loudest names, and they don't always dominate the marketing headlines. But they're winning something far more valuable than awards: owner trust. They're building cars that work, day in and day out without drama. And in an industry increasingly powered by hype and algorithms, that old-school dependability might just be the new revolution. So as you consider your next vehicle, be curious, be skeptical. Don't fall for the flashy promo video or the oversized touchscreens alone. Read the reviews, look at recall records, pay attention to real ownership stories. Because a car is more than a spec sheet. It's part of your life, and the wrong one can make your daily drive a very expensive mistake. And that one brand that's actually pulling ahead of the pack while others slip, we'll talk about that next time.